Doo-Wop Shop. WCBS 101 FM. Welcome to the Doo-Wop Shop. Those Memphis come alive again. Welcome to the Doo-Wop Shop. Welcome to the Doo-Wop Shop.
FM, Four Lovers, and you're the apple of my eye. We have some gentlemen here. I'm sure that song certainly means a lot to you guys, right?
Sure does.
All right. Welcome, Tommy DeVito and Nick Massi. Good to see you both again. Nick was here not so long ago with the group Carmel. Am I right?
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you were involved with them, and I guess you still are, right, Nick?
I think so. I haven't heard from them in about a month.
Oh, okay.
Well, people were going away for the summer and this and that.
So I'm sure you're still involved with them.
Uh-huh.
Now, I know, Tommy, you were part of that group. Is that right? The Four Lovers?
Oh, yes, I was.
And Nick, you came in later. Is that right?
No, I started in the beginning. I left and then I came back.
Oh, you were part of it? Left, came back?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But tell us a little bit about those early days with, with the Four Seasons and before the Four Seasons, with the Four Lovers, and just how it came together as that group.
Well, hanging on corners in those days was, that was it.
Right.
We sang and got around in a circle, and Nicky always had a great ear for music and start passing out harmony parts, and everybody just fell in. And every night we'd either sit in a car, have a guitar around, and play and sing.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, we thought we were good enough to go ahead and do it professionally.
Right. But so Street Corner Harmony and I guess Doo-Wop, which is what we do here at the Doo-Wop Shop, obviously, that did have a part in the sound. And let me ask you this, how much did it play in the success of the Four Seasons, that early Doo-Wop sound? Was it taken into the Four Seasons in some way?
Yeah, a little bit. Let Nicky go ahead. Well, it wasn't doo-wop in them days, It's like we did rhythm and blues.
Right.
And we did country and western, modern harmony, and we did,
Well, because back then we never heard the term doo-wop, did we? I mean, way back when
Right.
the songs were, that are now considered doo-wop, that phrase never even existed.
I think it did help anyway because, it just gave you experience in singing and different types of harmony.
Mm-hmm.
So it did carry a little weight into going into the Four Seasons.
Right. Now, the Four Lovers, and I had a chance to see the Four Lovers on the Ed Sullivan Show way back in 1956. Were you gentlemen on that show?
Yes, I was.
Were you, Nick?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't there. That's it. You left just when they got to the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
But if I remember now, that group at that time looked more like, I don't know, maybe a lounge type act in a way because it was a stand-up bass, if I recall.
It was. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was a stand-up, but
It was that the direction at the time for the group?
Just before the Four Lovers, my brother was playing stand-up bass, and Nicky also played stand-up bass also.
Yeah.
So they would switch off on guitar and bass because they were, they had that much talent,
Mm-hmm.
So they just switched off. Any time that we had to have Nick play guitar, he played.
Mm-hmm. Now, when did it go from what the Four Lovers were to what the Four Seasons would be? Because there was obviously Frankie Valli, you can hear his falsetto in the Four Lovers. Yeah, I believe you're right.
Well, Four Lovers, I'd have to say it went from Four Lovers to the Romans.
To the Romans first.
To the Romans,
Okay.
before the Four Seasons, just before the Four Seasons.
Mm-hmm. Were you gentlemen a part of that?
Yes, Nicky was also.
Okay, what were the Romans again? Because I had a gentleman up here who is a big fan. I can't think of his name. Walter Gollander. I don't know if you know that name at all, but
We sure do.
But he's a big fan of the Four Seasons and what have you. And he brought a lot of records up. In fact, he brought up Frankie Valli's first record, about 1953. I can't recall what the title of the song was, but we played that, and then he brought up some material by the Romans.
I Go Ape. I Go Ape or Forgive and Forget.
I think it was Forgive and Forget we played.
On Mercury label.
Yeah, that was probably it, yeah. And then the Romans, what did you do with the Romans?
We did the background on them.
That's
right.
We did the background on all these things, you know.
Now, when the Four
Tyler.
Lovers disappeared and became the Romans, what were why did we change name? What did you change direction?
You know, at that time, I really don't have an answer why we changed it to the Romans. We were working in a place called Martel Seabreeze in Point Pleasant. And that's just before the Four Seasons, which was, we call it the Romans. And that didn't last only a couple of months, right?
That's because of Como Si Bella.
That's
Italian
right.
song.
That's right. We did a cut on a thing called Como Si Bella, which was written by Carmen de Palma.
So that's where you got the Four Romans.
So we got, you know, we went with the Four Romans.
Now, you can hear a little bit of the Four Seasons in the Four Lovers. Could you do that also with the Romans too? I mean, was the sound kind of?
Yeah, it was still there. Frankie still had falsetto going, and you know, Nicky was still doing a lot of bass stuff, and he did a lot of lead stuff too at that time. And you know, everybody was singing lead at that time.
Right.
Frankie wasn't really like the soloist of the group.
Right.
But we stuck him out there in front because he did have a unique voice, you know.
So that's basically why he got the call to be the lead singer, is that right?
Well, you know, his octaves, I mean, he had like 3.5 octave range, so we could, you know, manipulate him any way we wanted to.
Now, the first one for the Four Seasons was Bermuda, am I right?
Right, that was Nicky's work.
Tell us about that, Nicky, if you would.
Well, me and Frankie always liked that song. We did it, you know, in restaurants and diners where we hanged. And it was like a two-part thing. And one day we went in the studio and...
You got to turn those headsets down a little bit. That's why they're squeaking at you, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Squeak yourself. Yeah, so like, we used to do it in two-part harmony just with the guitar. Then when we became a group, you know, like we were doing this before we were the Variety Tones. Remember that?
Way back.
That was another
1950.
Right, that's way before the Romans.
All right.
Well, way before the Four Lovers, too.
Right.
Right. So you guys have been together since when now?
Before Water.
We were a variety trio first. Me, him, and his
Variety
brother.
Trio really started. It was Nick, my brother, and I.
What
And
year?
then
I mean, we're talking about what?
Well,
early,
we're talking about 1950.
About 1950.
And then, you know, and from the Variety Trio went the Variety Tones.
That's when we added Frankie.
Yeah.
He just turned 21 then. So he had to be 21, right?
Well, he was a little younger than that.
Yeah.
We snuck him in.
So you got him in, but so it has deep roots. I mean, the Four Seasons just didn't happen overnight.
No.
There's a lot to build on. It was a big foundation there.
A lot of work to it.
Everybody.
It was a work for, everybody.
Okay.
On everybody's part.
Well, let me go to that first big one you had as the Four Seasons, which was Sherry, of course, right?
Right.
We're going to listen to that, and then we're going to come back and talk about maybe who was responsible for creating this incredible sound that you gentlemen had. There you have the Four Seasons, of course. We've got two of the original gentlemen here, Nick Massi, Tommy DeVito. Good to have them back. They're here in Don K. Reed's Doo-Wop Shop. Now, that incredible sound that you guys had, where did it come from? I know Bob Crew was involved with you gentlemen, right?
Yes, he was. He was our producer, actually. And
who came up with that whole feel to this music? Can you pinpoint it to anyone, or is it just a combination of everybody?
You have to give credit to Bobby because he wrote Cherry exactly for
Bob Gaudio. You're talking about
Bob Gaudio, and he wrote Cherry exactly for Frankie's voice. You know what I mean? When he wrote it, he had him in mind naturally because of his 3-octave range, and he knew he could get there.
So that was specifically written for the voice of Frankie Valli.
Right, because Gaudio could never sing it. I mean, he's he kind of demonstrated singing it to us.
And the background and all that, the whole thing was worked by...
Yeah, the background was worked by Nicky and myself, and all the guys just pitched in and thought it should be the way it is now.
Now, you had some other singers sometimes singing background, because I had a gentleman here, Hal Miller of the Rays, who said on occasion or somewhere along the line, he had done some background for the Four Seasons or with the Four Seasons or something.
We've done it for him.
We did it for him.
Yeah.
So
and with a lot of groups, we were kind of ghosting a lot of stuff in those days for Bob Crew. And this is the way we became recorded, because we recorded so much stuff for him. And eventually he was kind of running out of money. And I said, you know, you promised that you were going to record us, and you never did.
Now, Sherry was a monster hit, as you said. After that, did you know you guys were on your way to something big, or was it just, well, we had a hit, let's try again and see what happens, or did you feel you had captured a sound that had captured the imagination of everybody listening?
Exactly. Oh, yeah. When Dick Clark played it, he said, this is a giant, you know. So we were already doing different things, you know. Sherry was just a side thing we did. And Silence is Golden, Connie O, and I Cried Before, right?
Right.
They're all different type songs. So Sherry became a hit. We put I Cried Before behind it, flip side, and we worked on that sound. He wrote Big Girls Don't Cry. We had it like in 1 hour. We'd go in the bathroom, sing this part, sing that part.
Really?
Yeah, we were working at the time, so we had to sing in the bathroom. Men's room.
You know how many groups have come up here and said, you know, they rehearsed it right in the studio, or they had some songs and they wanted another side, and some guy went out in the alley and wrote a song. I mean, the Four Seasons had that happen too?
You can do that. Anybody can do that. If you're big enough...
Nick, you can do it.
No, wait, no.
Don't say anybody can do it.
Well, I didn't finish. If you're big enough in the business, you know, it's just like if you were in a smash play and you could go in the back room and write a play, you know what I mean? For one scene at least.
I think you still have to have the ability to write a song anyway. You know,
exactly.
You know, singers are singers and writers are writers. Nicky was a writer also. He wrote songs along with Gaudio. And but Gaudio was a stone writer. I mean, that's what he loved to do, and that's what he did, you know.
Every minute.
And Crew and him just made a great combination of writing, you know.
Exactly.
Crew was coming up with lyrics, and he was coming up with melodies, and it just clicked one right after the other.
Exactly, and Bob Gaudio, of course, came out of the Royal Teens.
Right.
Who was with Joe Villa.
Right,
and
had short
Tommy
shorts.
Austin and what have you. And they had big name Button, Hobby's Got a Girlfriend, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And later, on Capitol, they had some great stuff, like Talk of the Town and
they did.
Believe Me and some stuff like that. And Bob was, of course, part of that. But then he jumped to you guys, right?
Right, he did.
Did you pick him and know that this guy had all the talent that he had?
You know, it was kind of funny because we were already a group, and we were getting rid of somebody in the group. And his father came to me and says he'd like to see Bobby join the group. And we said, well, you know, I don't want any piano in a group. And I said, you know, I need an organ at least, a Farfisa organ in those days. And if he had gotten an organ, I'd put him in the group. And that's the way he got in. He went out and bought
the organ.
An organ.
There he was on the doorstep. Here, I got the organ, guys.
Tommy sold him the organ.
Now, that was a great move, obviously, for the Four Seasons, because he wrote some of the big hits, right?
Yeah, right. Well, right after he got into the group, he was writing a lot of stuff, and we were running to the studio with it and never coming up with anything. And we all thought they were going to be hits. I can't really name off the top of my head what songs they were at this particular time. But he wrote every week. He was coming up with songs, and we would run to the studio and do them thinking that were great songs, which, you know, we couldn't get rid of.
But, so he was like a fountain of songs, really.
Oh, yeah. He was just he's still today is a great writer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, Nick mentioned Silence is Golden back in those days, those early days. This was about 1964, if I'm correct here. Summertime. Let's give a listen. The Four Seasons and Silence is Golden. CBS FM, that Silence is Golden. That was the flip of Ragdoll. And, of course, we're here with Nick Massi, Tommy DeVito, two of the original Four Seasons. And we've got more coming up with these gentlemen in just a moment. FM, yeah, Big Girls Don't Cry, Four Seasons, and it was a Bob Gaudio tune, right, gentlemen?
Right.
Right. And I'm here with Tommy DeVito and Nick Massi, two of the original Four Seasons. Got to ask you about something that scared a lot of people when it happened, the British invasion. The Beatles, of course, blew the roof off the charts, and then came a whole influx of British groups, and a lot of American groups didn't make it through that. I think I could point to your group, the Four Seasons, the Beach Boys, and maybe a couple others that weathered that storm. What was it like to be in a group like the Four Seasons? Were you a little sweaty behind the ears because of this British invasion, or did you guys know you were going to, make it through it?
Well, I think we had enough under our belt at that time not to worry about it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Sherry was out, and Big Girls Don't Cry, Walk Like a Man was 3 number ones, and then they really hit because we had Dawn on the charts at number 2, and they came to the country.
Mm-hmm.
It was a funny thing that we went to England and we saw the Beatles before they were the Beatles. They came back to see us, and then 6 months later they came here. And I don't think it hurt us. I think it helped sales because it sent people into the stores, and while they were picking up Beatles, they were picking up Four Season records.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think anybody in the group really got scared of the Beatles.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Nick?
No way.
Didn't bother you?
I thought it helped
Mm-hmm.
because we were doing different type things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had a number 2 when they came over with that "She Loves You,"
Right.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Right. So you had Dawn, yeah?
Dawn. We had Dawn out.
And is this another Bob Gaudio tune that he wrote?
No, that was Sandy Linzer, wasn't it? Sandy Linzer.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And crew.
Now, most of the arranging for most of your songs was handled by Bob Crew, is that right?
The arrangements wasn't, and we had to give that credit to Nick Massi right here. He did a lot of the background stuff.
Did the arranging, the vocal arranging?
The vocal arrangement was really a lot of his stuff. And
so Crew produced it, basically.
Crew produced it, and then he hired arrangers to arrange whatever he was, wanted, naturally on the record.
So, Nick, you had the ear for this sort of thing, is that it?
Still do.
I'm sure you do. You mentioned Dawn. Let's hear that, and then I want to talk about you gentlemen individually.
Pretty as a midsummer's morn, they call her Dawn. Go away, I'm no good for you.
CBS FM with the Four Seasons and 2 of the original men right here in the Doo-Wop Shop tonight. Got Tommy DeVito, Nick Massi. And what was the background on a man like Nick Massi that when you hit those street corners, was that where it started for you? Or before that, was there music
It wasn't
in your
really
life?
street corners. It was like we sit in the car and sing, or no matter
Right,
where
the car
we
was
were.
parked at the corner. Okay.
Well, it's not like
And that's like street corner harmony. Is that what
well,
you're saying?
street corner. I don't know. That's not the.
That's not the
word.
term you want.
I hang on corners with some guys. They didn't know how to sing, though. You know what I mean? But
When did music get into your life? Was it before the street corner, or was it, right at that point in time when guys used to hang out and sing?
we didn't keep going street corner. Like,
Whatever. But well, you were on the corner.
I was only allowed to stay on the corner. So of course, I only sang on the corner.
Right. But did
When
you...
I learned to cross the street, I sang in the barber shop.
Whatever. But did you have music in your life before?
Yes. I always, since I was, first grade, I guess, always listened to good music, symphonies and
What have you, right?
Well, you learn.
When did you know you had this talent? I mean, when did it come to fruition that you knew? But did you have music in your life before?
Yes. I always, since I was, first grade, I guess, always listened to good music, symphonies and
What have you, right?
Well, you learn.
When did you know you had this talent? I mean, when did it come to fruition that you knew you had this
As soon as I told him, he was very talented. He knew he had it.
No, you put it to experiment. Like you say, you sing do, you sing do, you sing do. Then the Three Stooges came out. Hello, hello, hello. Well, like I still do those things.
Right.
In fact, I'm having problems getting the 4 singers to sing what I write. And I've tried things with the Carmel, but I stay in the register, like.
So in other words, you have problems with them or any
Not
groups that you
problems.
work?
It's songs that I want to do. I have problems. Not songs they want to do.
I see.
Like
Do you play an instrument, Nick? Do you play an instrument?
Bass, guitar, and little keyboards.
I see.
Harmonica first.
Now, which came first? Was it singing, obviously, I guess, for you, right? Before playing any instrument?
Not really singing. It's harmony. Even if I'm not singing, I like to hear my parts being sung by somebody.
I see.
I could tell who's not right and all that.
So obviously, it's something that you're born with. I mean, you got that ear, and it's there.
Yeah, he was born with a great ear because, when he first started, we played guitar together. And he would have a guitar, or I would have a guitar, and then we'd go back and forth and try different things. And that's really how it really got started.
How about yourself, Tommy? What's your background before you hung out and started singing, whether it was the street corner or the barbershop or wherever it was?
It really goes way back. My father played accordion, and my brother had a little bit of knowledge in music and played guitar and taught me a couple of 3, 4 different chords on a guitar. And that's really how I started. I really got caught playing his guitar. It was on the floor. I was so small that I had to lean over it, put it on the floor, lean over it, and play it. And he came home at that time and caught me with it and kind of slapped me around and says, "I don't want my guitar on the floor."
Right. I don't want you playing it.
Right. And every time I come home now, if you're not practicing, you're going to get a slap, And that's how I really started practicing it, at that age, 8, 9 years old.
That's kind of young.
Yeah, that was.
But you enjoyed it, I would assume, eventually.
Well, yeah, I just loved it because, and naturally, I was listening to, they used to have programs on like 15 minutes a day of country singers. Elton Britt would come on 15 minutes a day, and I'd sit by the radio, just make believe I was playing the guitar because he was singing and playing the guitar. And my father kept looking at me and saying, I should buy him a guitar, For him to go out and buy a guitar was pretty rough in those days.
Oh, sure. They were not cheap.
Right.
And the singing, when did that start for you?
Just normally started to sing. My mother always sang in the house, and my father sang, and my sisters, my older sisters sang with them, and they sang harmony, and I kind of liked that sound, so I always try to get involved with it.
All right, we're going to hear more from these gentlemen, Nick Massi and Tommy DeVito. They're here live tonight in the Doo-Wop Shop, and then we're going to play a song and have you commented on it. Candy Girl, all right? You seem to indicate you kind of like the way that all turned out. So we'll be back here in the Doo-Wop Shop with Tommy DeVito and Nick Massi.
I've been searching on this big wide world. Now finally I found mine.
CBS FM Candy Girl, the Four Seasons, and we have 2 of the original gentlemen here. We have Tommy DeVito and Nick Massi. And you were commenting before when we were listening to something else about that song. What were you saying there, Tommy?
I was saying that I thought that this song particularly had one of the best harmony sessions that we ever did on a song. I mean, everything was just right on the button. And I thought that it just, everything just recorded great.
Is that your favorite Four Seasons too?
Well, it's really not. It's not my favorite, but it's...
As far as the harmony.
As far as the harmony is concerned, every time I hear it, I always kind of like that better than a lot of the other stuff that I did.
What I want to ask you now is, what are you guys doing these days? I mean, musically speaking.
Well, Nicky naturally.
Well, he's producing.
I still
You've been out in
produce.
Vegas, I know that.
Yeah, I live in Las Vegas, but I'm here right now because of I have other work. I work for Joe Pesci. I'm his assistant on the movies and his assistant here at home also. So
Not a bad job, Tom.
no, it's not.
He's a good friend of yours, I know that.
Yeah, we've known Joe a long time. We've recorded Joe even years back.
Oh, I know he's, been in the music business.
Yeah.
And if we could ever persuade him to come by the Doo-Wop Shop, we'd love to talk about his music career.
I'll try my best. I'll
Really,
try my best.
and
He's
you'd really
very,
meet the man, too,
very
really.
talented. Very talented.
Talented guy.
Yeah.
And music was a big part of his early days, wasn't it? And
Yes,
probably
it was.
still is.
Yes, it is. Every time when I'm here with him in the Jersey area, the Jersey Shore area, he has a home down there, and he has guitars laying around. We always pick it up and play. If we're in California, he has guitars there, so we play there. And usually we do a lot of harmony together and go back and play some of the old stuff.
Now, you said, too, when we were talking while one of the songs were playing, you do a little acting, too, in some of these flicks, right?
I didn't hear you.
You do a little acting sometimes.
Yeah, I've been in Casino, a couple of little parts in Casino. I've been gone fishing, and
You enjoy that? You enjoy that?
I like it. I don't like it as much as songs on stage and stuff like that. But it's a lot of hard work. Also, it's not what they think.
Why
it
don't you
is,
sing in a movie?
That's what I should do.
It's not as glamorous as some people think it is, right?
No, it's
a lot of hard work.
Really, a lot of hard work.
But if you had a point in time where you could have been a singer or an actor, now that you've kind of the singing, backwards and forwards and upside down and inside out, acting, you would still say, hey, I want to be that singer I was and am, right?
Well, I'm not sorry for anything I did. So, I like acting because there's a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Right. So, acting is great. It's a lot of work. That's all. It's a whole lot of work.
Now, Nick, are you still involved in music to a degree? I know you are with that.
Oh, yeah.
Carmel.
I'm still teaching a few people harmony things and
doing stuff like
and
that.
I'm doing things of my own, like I'm taping things and not that I want to make it with it. I just want to have them completed before I leave this world.
I see. So it's your own personal projects.
I'm into painting now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did about 150 paintings.
And he's fantastic. He really is.
Thank you, Tommy.
Really,
thank you.
Have you sold any of your paintings?
And I cook better.
Yeah.
Have you sold any of those?
I sold them by order.
I see.
You want a painting of your dog or your nephew,
or whatever.
your anybody. I do any kind of painting now.
Oh, that's great.
I sold maybe 50 paintings that people ordered. I have about 150 that people want to buy, but I'm not going to sell them yet. I'm going to wait until I lose ideas.
All right.
I'm finishing paintings that I did 4 years ago.
Really?
I left them as done, but when I look at them now, I correct them like 3 years later.
Really? So you go back to it and say, this is not the way I really think it should be, so you go on and continue.
Well, it's not something that you...
To me, I always found painting like mixing a record. When is it done? You know what I mean? A painting, the painter has to know when it's done.
That's it.
And somebody mixing a record, you could probably mix till the end of time.
It is the same thing because
you got to know when it's done.
He sees the picture before he paints it. We hear the record before we make it.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So but you have to keep singing the same words.
That's right.
In painting, you change it. Now, I do a painting, and to me, if you want to buy it, 50, okay, here. I'll take the 50 because I did it in 3 hours. Okay, and I wasn't done with it, but if you want to buy it,
it's mine.
Okay, but if I fool with it every week, and then every month, and every year, I'm doing a painting of Jesus and all his fellow workers,
Yeah.
Different scenes I'm doing, and I'm never done. I do my own faces, my own hands. Right? And sometimes I don't look at it for a week or two. I take it out, I go, oh, wow, these feet are wrong. And I fixed them.
I see. Yeah.
So if you would have bought the painting, you would have complained to me.
Somehow I don't think I would have complained.
Well, I do a lot of paintings. I'll show you some
later on. I want to, we're going to take a break here and take care of some business. When I come back, I have to ask you guys a question that probably a lot of people are saying. You gentlemen were part of the Four Seasons, and of course, the Four Seasons are continuing with Frankie, not obviously the original members. But people say, why did, somebody like Tommy DeVito and Nick Massi leave such a successful group? So I'm going to ask you that question when we come back. All right? And we're here with Tommy DeVito, Nick Massi, two of the original Four Seasons. Now, the question I posed before we took that break was, why, and I'm sure people have asked you this, but I'm going to ask you in front of a big audience here because they're going to say, why didn't Don ask him that? So I'm going to ask you, why did you guys leave? Without any gory details, if there are any. Just, because they say it was such a successful group, why would two gentlemen leave?
You have to remember that, I started playing at an early age. Mm-hmm. And I played country music when I was 14 and 15 and 16 years old. And we're in different groups, traveling from one point to another.
Yeah, the traveling is tough, isn't it?
And it is tough. So, after going through the country groups and after going through some of the other groups that we were building, and then becoming successful after all those years, it becomes tiresome.
Yeah.
After, I put in a good 8 years with the Seasons on the road, from town to town, and, played every state in the United States and plus overseas. So, it does get tiresome. I thought I had enough at that time, and I was getting up in age, and I thought, this is time to retire.
Mm-hmm. You look like a young guy to me from here, I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
How about you, Nick? I know you left a little earlier than Tommy did.
Yeah, well, I wanted to go into producing records and all that. I had a lot of groups I was recording. When I was still with the group.
Right.
And I couldn't just do both. And
because you had to be on the road a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Did that bother you too? I mean, was it?
Well, I could have liked it. I don't like to force myself to like something, I didn't enjoy these guys on the road, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had fun in the airport, and we had fun driving, but there would be times where I just couldn't stand them.
In the early days, he would, him and I used to bunk together in the early days.
Right.
And he wanted the window open, and I wanted the window closed.
Yeah, and it's stuff like that kind of creates the tension, doesn't it? I mean, little things.
He said, I have to sleep with air. I said, sleep outside.
He wanted... Wait a minute now. He's like a little baby. Wait a minute. You talked enough, didn't you? Listen to this now. He had to have the bathroom light on when he went to sleep.
Say no more.
And my pillow was near the bathroom. And I said, Tommy, why do you have to have a bathroom light on? In case I gotta go to the bathroom during the night.
You can see where he's going, right?
That's right.
Because
he was afraid.
You were in different rooms every night, practically, and different.
In the beginning.
That was only in the beginning anyway. Just the last 6 or 7 months of it.
Yeah.
Until we started making real big money, and then we had our own rooms.
Right. But it's things like that.
We almost wanted our own limos.
Isn't it very tough to keep a group together, whether it's the Four Seasons or the next group, because you got 4 different personalities?
Right. Oh, yeah. 4 different personalities, there's 4 different minds, there's 4 different everything.
And 4 different ideas on how the group should be.
Right.
Yeah, the only time we were all in synchronization is in the lawyer's office. We all had to read the things.
And a recording studio.
Yeah. Well, it's obvious because of all the hits you had and the sounds you produced that you were in sync in the studio. There's no doubt about it. All right, I want to thank you gentlemen for being here again. Tommy DeVito, always good to see you. I know you come by once in a while.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I'm glad you could come by the Doo-Wop Shop again. And Nick, you were here, as I said, earlier this year with Carmel, and I invited you back. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Anytime now.
All right, it's good to see you, and maybe we'll do it again. Hopefully we can. And here on WCBS FM in New York with me, Don K. Reed, and the Doo-Wop Shop. How about we wrap it up, gentlemen, with I think Save It For Me. What do you think?
Great.
All right. Thanks again to Nick Massi and Tommy DeVito.